Well, we'll get started. Hello, everybody. I am Maria, and I'm the admin of the Money Making Esthetician community. And today I'm joined with Michelle and George. I am so excited for this topic. We're really going to be talking about what is the perfect hydrodermabrasion or microdermabrasion device for your practice. And one of the things that we did talk about when we first started the conversation was what might be good for my practice might not be good for your practice. And I think it's so important. This is such a huge financial decision. It can really take your business to the next level, but you want to make sure that you're doing it appropriately to what makes sense for your business. It's such a big financial decision, but it's a very important one too, to make more money, to be able to help your clients, to be able to serve better. But there's so much information out there. How do you know what is the perfect device for you?
Mhm.
So that's why I absolutely love this partnership. George and Michelle, do you kind of want to tell us a little bit about your business? What are the, because one of the things that just intrigued me so much when I met with George was he has so many different things that we all need, literally. In order to have, I personally specialize in corrective treatments. And in order to do that, I need certain products, which is dermaplaning, oxygen treatments, microdermabrasion, and George really helps that gap and helps estheticians be able to purchase things. And then we have Michelle, who is a phenomenal educator. So they always make sure that anybody who purchases with them is able to do an educated guess. And one thing that I really loved about them is Michelle will meet with each individual person and make sure that she's not just selling you things, but like, does this make sense for your business? How about we start here a little bit and then we'll do a little bit of this so that you just don't feel overwhelmed.
Mhm. Okay.
Right. Maria, I really appreciate it. I'm going to jump in here and introduce myself. My name is George Beach. I'm the founder of Medical Purchasing Resource, also known as MedPurchasing.com. That's our website. I started this company about 25 years ago with the premise of trying to become a consultant in this confusing aesthetic industry. One of the things that I've noticed from selling capital equipment, large pieces of equipment such as lasers and things in this uh, industry, is that sales reps are very strategic in the way that they promote and market a device to you and often overwhelm you with information. And it was the purpose of my company to start out as a consulting group for the aesthetics industry so that we could bring information to you in a concise array of information so that you could help make better purchasing decisions. Also, remove that friction of the sales rep trying to get a hold of a sales rep. Um, I have created a platform here with our website, medpurchasing.com, where you can get all of your products and just add to cart at any time of day or night. You don't have to hunt down a sales rep, fill out an order form, do any of that. We negotiate with all the major manufacturers to bring the product to our website at the lowest possible wholesale price to you practitioners. Our website, we do not sell directly to retail clients. In fact, to purchase from our website, you must register on our website. Many of the products do require license. Your esthetician license is perfect if you are a permanent makeup artist or cosmetologist. You too are accepted into our website and able to purchase. So any product that you wish to purchase from our website, don't feel like you're going to find it available on Amazon or anything like that. We do not represent manufactured products that are easily found on Amazon or in retail stores or Sally Beauty Supply, whatever. These are all professional products available to you on our platform. So, with that, I want to also introduce here today, joining us from Medical Purchasing Resource, Michelle Byerly. She is our clinical director. She oversees all of our product education and training as well as bringing on new products to our website. So, in order for a manufacturer to onboard with us and get their products added onto our website, they have to pass her tests. So, she clinically evaluates the product, the ingredients, the protocols to make sure that they are viable products that you can use and make profit with. We don't bring on all this stuff from overseas. We do have some Korean products, but most all the products are professional grade products that you can use in your practice. So, the purpose here today, having been in this aesthetics industry for over 25 years, I too participate in many of the forums that you all belong to on Facebook, the Money Making Esthetician. Uh, it's like reading a journal every morning. I read all of your comments on these sites, your questions, your concerns. That helps drive our website so we can help you better. And one of the popular conversations that has come up is often I read and hear many of you asking about what are the differences between these different hydrodermabrasion systems. And we'll call them dermal infusion systems, okay? I don't want to popularize or misspeak about any trademark names such as the hydrofacial systems. That's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to guide you through the purchasing decisions, the pros and cons, costs of purchasing these devices, and the actual return on investment or your profitability. So, with that, I'd like to turn this over to Michelle. She's created a fun little slide presentation here, which I'd like you to follow along with and take notes. We will have in the chat at the end of the webinar a link where you can join our website and get a download copy of our presentation here today. And I believe the Money Making Esthetician will also make this available on their live newsletter and session forum as well. So we welcome you. We encourage you to ask questions. We will have a brief question answer period at the end of our presentation. So if you've got any questions, we're here to answer your questions, and feel free to reach out to us as well on the forum. Michelle, I'll let you take over, and let's decide how best to determine which hydrodermabrasion system is best for your practice.
All right. So just a intro to me a little bit. That's George, obviously. Can you guys see the slide just as a quick, can you
Yes.
guys? Yes. Okay,
Yeah.
great. So you guys all got introduced to George just now. A little bit about myself is that I studied medicine. I went into school for nuclear medicine, which is molecular science. And then I pretty much have studied nonstop for 15 years in the aesthetic industry and have taught in the aesthetic industry for a very long time. Now, very similarly to George, I follow all of the forums. I'm usually on all of them, commenting and saying, let's not do those certain things. And, you get some good responses, you get some not great responses, but I think it also allows me to learn on such a level, and I absolutely love learning. So as he was saying, I do vet all of the product that comes into MedPurchasing. Everything you see behind me, everything you see on the site, which is over 1,500 products. I vet, I go into the manufacturing facilities. I get to see how they keep everything sterile, how clean they keep their products. And yes, I do see a lot of the questions about hydrodermabrasion, especially when you're talking about, easily accessible ones online. And did this really work? And well, I heard a lot of not great things about this company, and this one's really expensive. These kind of questions across the industry from any capital equipment to hydrodermabrasion. So I'm here for all the solutions. And one of the benefit, I think, from what George has made on a website that has this amount of product, and the frictionless that he mentioned, which is the add to cart item aspect of it, is needs that person to be able to guide you through it and know how to stack certain treatments and how to utilize what you have in your clinic. As you mentioned earlier, um, that you're looking for hydrodermabrasion, but trying to learn how to stack these things and what does it even make sense? Can it be stackable? Do I have the demand? I think is a question that a lot of people have. So I hope we can play a fun game that I created to figure out what's great for your practice. So you can go ahead and screenshot this if you like, but I think this would be a nice entry to figure out what would be great for your practice. And, George and I are going to kind of go through what we typically hear in the industry from the good, the bad, the ugly, and what's fun about these kind of treatments. So I want us to kind of score things from 1 to 5 on what makes sense for your practice. And again, I think Maria mentioned that what's great for one practice is absolutely not great for the other practice, and it could be too expensive. Sometimes the cheaper item is not always the best for return on investment, and we're going to go into what that looks like. But again, we're going to go through 5 rounds. And the 5 rounds, I think the very first one, which is one of the things that I touch upon at MedPurchasing for the plethora of things you see behind me, is whether or not something's in your scope. So before you purchase anything, the very first thing you should be asking is this within your scope? Because then purchasing a $30,000-$40,000 device now turns into a big paperweight in your office that you're incapable of using. And hopefully you will hire somebody who can maybe use it, but then that's you didn't get around to it because you're so busy working. This is a very moving industry. And if you have a paperweight, it's just expensive. It's just tying up your money for no reason. So please just make sure things are within your scope. So the first question is to ask as an esthetician, RN, or whatever you might be, since it's the money making esthetician, I'm assuming everybody's estheticians, but does that fit within your scope of practice in your state? Because every state has a different limitation. So that's the first step. And some of these devices that we'll see moving forward have different modalities. And in those different modalities, see if those modalities fit within your scope as well. Insurance approval. Not sure what type of insurances you might have for your practice, but that would be a very first thing you want to take a look at to see if it's insured, if it's safe. Most hydrodermabrasions are very, very safe, but a good thing to kind of keep in mind to look at when it comes to any device, not just hydrodermabrasion. And training quality. So this is going to be round 1, and we're going to talk about profitability as we go through the slides. But think round 1 would be on this page of training quality. Now, what kind of training comes with these devices? I think it's important that you see the difference between the things that are easily accessible online with absolutely no training. It's not really adding to your education or whether or not you can perform this at the best of your ability. I think that checking if there is some free training that comes with it or is just part of the device or what kind of system that wraps around that device. Any device that you might purchase, you want an ecosystem that supports you behind it. So just check what kind of ecosystem that you're really paying for. To pay top dollar for no support system is kind of harsh on your business. And also to pay nothing and have absolutely no support also can hurt your business because you don't know what you're doing with the device. So we'll move on. Hopefully you guys all had the chance to screenshot this so that we can really utilize this game.
Michelle, before we move on to round 2, I also want to reiterate one important thing about buying equipment. If you're not buying a new device, you need to also ask yourself, and we're going to go into this, training. Training often does not come with the purchase of a pre-owned device. So whomever you're buying that device from, you need to ask them, where may I get training? Many manufacturers, such as, I'm going to throw it out there, Hydrofacial, we've all heard the name Hydrofacial. They charge you a recertification fee of $9,500. It's a licensing agreement that you must pay if you want to purchase products or receive any kind of training from them to be acknowledged as a customer. So you can find a great deal on a used device out there, but know that you're limited to what you have access to. So we'll go through that some more. Go
Yeah.
ahead, Michelle.
So as we go through devices too, we're gonna again talk about the good, the bad, the ugly. And so that you can make the best decision for your practice. Not to say that the device, for example, if hydrofacial does fit your model, that might be ideal for you, but we're going to talk about what that comes with. So round two, we're going to talk about profit. So consumable cost is extremely important. You have to ask what the consumable cost is because a lot of the times the device may be very, very cheap, but the consumable cost per treatment is very expensive and vice versa. So we're going to go over kind of briefly. Again, I hope that you took a screenshot or you wrote down some of the questions because we're going to do that 1 to 5. And at the end, we're going to see this question again and see if we can answer some of them and you're scoring them on your paper. These are 4 or 5 of the devices. Now, Diamond Glow and Silk Peel, I kind of put in one because they're very similar, but these are just a snapshot of these devices. Now, some devices have uh, the investment varies, and we're going to go over the investments that I've kind of found even online myself, like looking as a provider will look for these prices. And a lot of them, you have to obtain a quote, and the quote can vary as well depending on who you're talking to. Now, core concept, a lot of them, for example, we're going to go over Zimmets during this presentation. We're going to go over dermogenesis. I do have my favorite, but this has to do with what's right for you, not my favorite. Diamond Glow, we have Silk Peel, we have Hydrofacial. Now we go through these because that is the number one known device. But again, we're going to go over what they can do. Zimmets is really good for overall, is good for hydrodermabrasion or microdermabrasion, and it has multi-modalities. One of their newest devices, which is their HD Pro, has multi-modalities. So it has about 8 modalities that you could do with it, which is sounds great. I mean, for the price, it's 6,990 ish dollars that has been published. And again, 8 modalities, that's quite, it opens you up to quite a few things that you can do. Now, dermogenesis sitting around 9,000 to 12,000, depending on where you're getting it from. And of course, at MedPurchasing, we're going with the lowest that we can possibly get it at. You have microdermabrasion, infusion, and you have targeted modalities. Thank you. Targeted modalities. If you are looking for a device, infusion and microdermabrasion are 2 different things. Microdermabrasion is dry, like dry exfoliation, and infusion is when you are pushing the serums into the skin. Now, some can do microdermabrasion and infusion at the same time, and some can only do microdermabrasion, and some can do infusion all on its own. So, one of the things that I do see as a plus is that dermogenesis can do dry microdermabrasion and infusion and microderm infusion, which would be hydroderm. Diamond Glow is really good for the dry microdermabrasion and can push serum at the same time. So it does also do the infusion. You got Hydrofacial, which is really known for its infusion technology. There is a difference between where you see a lot of these diamond tip items or diamond tip microderm. Usually it is actually the feeling of something actually exfoliating, whether it's very sandpapery or something that actually has like a uh, coarse tip to it. There's other ones that have more of a plastic tip, even though it has kind of coarseness to it. It's not the same as actually having something that's either metal or has the sandpapery type tip, which is usually diamond infused sheets. Now, each one has its own thing. So Zimitz has the actual microdermabrasion that is a kind of a metal tip that you can re-clean. So that's a good benefit that you don't have to keep reusing it. You have Dermagenesis that has the diamond infused tip, kind of like that sandpaper material that we were talking about. It's a sheet with diamond infusion. And that one is reusable. So for not reusable, it's one that you have to, it's a consumable. So with that, it's something that you have a new tip for each person. Some people may like that for their practice, that everything stays sterile and clean throughout their treatment without having to re-sanitize the similar tip. Now you have Diamond Glow and Silk Peel. They also have those reusable clean tips. They're they're in the mix between the Zimitz, kind of the circle abrasion, and now it's kind of flat too. So it has like a flat dermabrasion, which is interesting kind of tip. And then you have hydrofacial, which is that plastic tip. So a little bit different. Zimitz has the 8 modalities. Dermagenesis has the 4. Diamond Glow, it can vary from platform to platform. The same with Zimitz, but the most recent device has the 8. Diamond Glow and Silk Peel has a variety depending on their platform, and same for Hydrofacial. They have different modalities for their practice. Usually it's for their platform. Usually it is either the boost on their gun or the actual serum running through their device, or both. Consumables, again, vary from system to system and how often you use that device or the flow of those devices. Now, for Zimitz, a typical facial could cost, from what I've seen published, is around $2 a facial. I've seen this as a plus, but also this is something that is not an infusion device. So you are topically putting serums on the face and then doing the dermabrasion. For dermagenesis, and we're going to go through each individual one, but this is nice overlook of what these things can do. And when you're looking for a device, what kind of modalities you could see yourself doing in your practice. For dermagenesis, I've seen the consumables for a full facial being around $21. And again, that's with dermabrasion. You have hydrodermabrasion, and that is with their serum infusion. You have Diamond Glow and Silk Peel also vary because it depends on where you get your serums, whether you're getting it from the manufacturer or an off-brand. Hydrofacial as well can vary depending on if you're getting it from their official system or you're getting it from an off-brand. And again, it's nothing to say there's anything bad with getting off-brand serums. It's just make sure they're good. Training and support. I've seen with Zimitz that they have a fantastic training. I've seen great training. They have certification with their training. I've seen that they have it online. They even have during their trade shows, they have like a quick training there too. I actually love their support, their marketing. It's great. Dermagenesis also has training. I actually train you personally myself with Dermagenesis, but certifications, they have marketing. They also have a 24. Both of these actually right now have upped their warranty since we've made this to today. They're now 36 months, both of them, their warranty. Allergan, they're the Diamond Glow and Silk Peel. It varies depending on if you're going to get a used device. Same thing with Zimitz too. If you get a used device, your training certificate and warranty all are voided. And dermagenesis too. If any of these devices get bought as a used device, a lot of their warranties are voided. I do enjoy Diamond Glow and Silk Peel's ecosystem of their marketing. There's a lot of marketing because it's been in the industry for a very long time. And Hydrofacial's training is great too. It's an extensive training. They have great marketing. Now, brand recognition. Here's another thing. When you're talking about whether or not something's good for your practice, brand recognition is important, whether they are not really known at all. And again, Zemitz is a moderate recognized device. Mainly, you will see it at trade shows. The advertisements are out there, so it's gaining brand recognition very quickly, and it's in the moderate range. Same thing with dermogenesis. It's in the moderate niche, more not well known device. I'm sure actually today was probably the first time you've ever heard of dermogenesis. So it's very niche. Diamond Glow and Silk Peel, they are very strong and well recognized in the medical aesthetic industry. They are well recognized. And they have been known to last a very long time. Both of those devices they last. And Hydrofacial, again, very strong consumer recognition. So you always have those patients that come in and say, "Can I get a Hydrofacial?" Whether or not you actually have that device or not, they just know that name. So this is actually a consumer recognized brand, not even a provider recognized brand. So again, it depends on what you're going to get and like what fits your practice. Because do you want somebody to come to your practice and know what they want to get? Or you're like, well, I have something very similar. Let me go into it. Menu flexibility. Now, with the higher amount of modalities that you find with your devices, and again, you can always do research after this conversation, which is great. I always encourage people, even after I speak to them, to research even more. My word is not the ultimate word. I'm pro education and research on your own, but if I can give you as much as I possibly can, I will. So menu flexibility, the more modalities you have, for copy. Yeah, we definitely send you the copy for this. The flexibility is the higher the amount of modalities, the more you can kind of fit it into your practice for different ways. I would say Zimitz has a very high chance of those because it has 8 modalities. Same thing with dermogenesis. Um, I would say the Diamond Glow and Silk Peel and Hydrofacial, they are very focused. It's mainly just that treatment. It doesn't have multi ways of using it for it. It's just the Hydrofacial, or it's just the Silk Peel or Diamond Glow treatment. So it's very focused. Um, Ability to stack, all of them have a really good ability to stack. I feel like Zemitz and Dermogenesis have an excellent place to stack, mainly because it has more modalities, but they're all really good to stack within treatment. Now, just as a educational piece, I truly know that especially with clients that come in that are older, that have never done a treatment, because that's like 90% of the clients that walk in, they're like 55 and they're like, never did anything. I don't even use sunblock. These are really great treatments to get started. Microdermabrasion and hydrodermabrasion are a great way to wake up their skin softly, to get them hydrated again, and it actually enhances most of your treatments up to 25 to 35% more effective for every other treatment you do after, including microneedling, Botox, filler, pretty much any type of treatment after this kind of wake up is beautiful. So I think the stackability of this should be the very first thing somebody gets in, as a treatment in your spa, or also just a client acquisition point. If the treatment is very, very low cost for you, the patient is able to come, even if you have to offer them a free treatment. Would be the free treatment to get them into doing all the other treatments that you have that are at a higher ticket cost. Consumable flexibility. I think that you can always change out your consumables. For Zimitz, you can actually use different serums for Zimitz. Same thing with Dermogenesis. You could use their serums, or you can use a variety of their type of their tubing for different serums. So your flexibility for using stuff is pretty high. Diamond Glow Silk Peel, if you were having to buy it brand new, you are stuck with their proprietary serums. With Dermagenesis too, if you don't know how to do your mix too, you would be stuck with their proprietary serums. Like you just stick with their brand, especially brand new. They want you to stick with their brand. And Hydrofacials also one of those that you definitely need to use their serum because that is what the Hydrofacial is. It's very frowned upon for Hydrofacial to use anything that is not that their brand. Um, So this is mainly those whether or not these justify for you. So Zimmets, we talked about a little bit of the pros and cons a little bit, but this is more of that visually for you. The 8-in-1 multifunction platform the Zimmets has. It is a strong hydrodiamond exfoliation and extraction tool. It has a low consumable cost. You could do about 30 or so different protocols with this particular device. It's great, like again, excellent for stacking that we talked about before. It's pretty flexible with your treatments. And I think that it does leave for you to get more premium treatments. Now, some of the cons are it doesn't have infusion. So it doesn't actually push the serum into the skin the way we want with a true infusion device. Um, the serums are delivered more topically, so you're putting the serums onto the skin. Um, and again, I think the downtime for learning a device that has multimodalities is a little bit of a higher, uh, you know,
Learning curve.
learning curve. It's exactly what it is. See, this is why I need this guy. Um, Again, I think the 8 functions would be the dermabrasion. They have cold toning, like a little cold that kind of like how you have your cold spheres. They have that with that device. They have a skin scraper, a vacuum massage. So you get the lymphatic aspect, which I like about this device. RF skin revitalization. They have the oxygen application. So it has a lot of really cool tools, a lot of cool tools. It has free training, certification, 36 months warranty, and free delivery. That's pretty amazing. And George, since you have gotten to work with this company, what do you feel about the company support? Because I feel like he's more in that
They
realm.
They've been really excellent with us. Now, when you buy or wish to buy a Zimmets device, any of their devices, we support all the Zimmets equipment out there, which you may see on their website as well. If you are interested, please call Michelle or I. When we act as your agent for the purchase of these devices, Zimmets recognizes us as a big, big customer. Okay. So when we ask for something, we go straight to the, person that's in charge and we get it done. When your sales rep goes to their own company and ask to get something done, they're just kind of thrown in that, loop of customer service and they're not seen as important. You're just a single number and just a sales rep's customer. But when you purchase from us, you are a direct customer of Zimmit. So we represent Zimmit directly. We follow through with setting up all your training. Any questions, Michelle and I are always available via chat. We answer our phones almost 24 hours a day. We hardly rest. I mean, we are in your, best interests. We get things done. We remove all that friction of buying and frustration. So I would strongly encourage you, if choosing Zimmets, it is a great device. I know I've read on some of the forums from some of our practitioners here, even on the Money Making Esthetician, they didn't have as great a customer support with Zimmets. And I can assure you, if you have any concerns or there are any problems, they will get addressed immediately. We've not had a problem at all. I've represented Zimmett's equipment now solidly for a little over 2 years and have had no problems with any warranty issues or customer service. So,
Well, at least the back end looks great that you can definitely trust that the brand. I do like a brand that you could definitely rely on. I think when it's a little bit harder to buy certain things, I don't necessarily like that. And I do love that George and I are both the type of people who talk directly with the CEOs of these companies. So we have very little issue with trying to get the things done. And we're definitely your advocate. So again, now we're going to go into Genesis Biosystems, which is the Dermagenesis. This one has four modalities. It's the one that I'm much more familiar with because I personally own this device. It has the dermabrasion, the dry dermabrasion, which I like for, and if you're not familiar with what dry dermabrasion does, which one of you is, you can usually use that for a lot of things, including ingrown hair. I mean, it's amazing for ingrown hairs from the head to the face. Again, getting just sheets of dead skin off the face before you're trying to do even microneedling, it's a fantastic tool. And then to add on to dry dermabrasion, you have the dermabrasion infusion, which is hydrodermabrasion. I do like the fact that you get to clean and hydrate at the same time. The dermafrac is a micro channeling ability where it actually punctures the skin and allows you to actually infuse at a much, much deeper layer. I do like that. But again, we talked about what's within your scope. So a lot of practices in certain states cannot go past 0.25, and some can go far beyond 0.25. Does this model, even though I personally am familiar with it, some states cannot use it because of that puncturing of the micro channeling of this treatment. And again, it has the actual serum infusion. Dermoject is the ability to do the infusion only. So assuming that person is very dehydrated or they need something a little bit softer and they're very sensitive, it's great to have that ability to infuse. I think hydrofacial is pretty great with that too. It has controlled digital vacuum, so you actually get the lymphatic aspect of it, and that's just part of being able to use those modalities. Free training. Again, I personally trained for that company, so I trained for that. They give you certification. You have 36 months warranty. The pros of this device is that you actually get infusion. So there's very few devices actually that does true infusion, especially while doing microdermabrasion. So it's one of the very few that I've seen out there. It is easily stackable, like pretty much all of them are great at being stackable. So it's one of the benefits. Now, one of the pros is that you can actually do true infusion with the microchanneling infusion. Um, you could I mean, one of the downsides is, again, the 0.25 penetration that doesn't fit a lot of people's modality or their scope of practice. There's a lot of states that you could do it, some states you can't. So just make sure that's within your scope. And that's why I said the very first point was very important when we're talking about all these different devices. I would say the ongoing proprietary consumer cost, like if you are going to buy their particular serums, it's a little bit pricey. And then we're talking about the $21 a facial. So nothing insane, but it's much more than a $2 topical facial. So we're talking about it's a little bit of a higher price and the consumable is a little up there, but nothing crazy, in my opinion. Oh, and again, remember the Dermagenesis is one of the ones that doesn't have a reusable tip. This is why the consumable cost is a little bit higher than it is for the reusable tip that Zimmets has. So you can clean the Zimmets one. The Dermagenesis has a new tip. You're putting a brand new tip for the patient. Diamond Glow is one of those that you also, it's a higher price. I believe the treatments are way lower, very similar to Zimit's, where the cost is really low. We're talking about anywhere from $12 a facial to like even $5 a facial if you're doing very low serum infusion, and then you're doing, you're reusing the tip, so you're not paying that $3 for the tip.
It really depends on how many serums you're selecting to use on a client as well.
Yeah.
Um, Diamond Glow, they offer five different serums in their product availability. We also have compatible serums for these systems, allowing you a much larger variety of serums to choose from as well. But yeah, I mean, the cost is relatively low depending on how much serum you're using on a client, and what the patient's complications or skin issues are.
And I actually think since Diamond Glow has been around for a long time and so has Silk Pill, I think this is actually more of a George speciality than it is actually mine. So I'm actually let George talk about the Diamond Glow a little bit more than me.
Um, a lot of you are probably familiar with Silk Pill, the name. Silk Pill was primarily the initial device offered by um, Edge Systems years ago, and is still a very good decision in purchase. The company, which is owned by Allergan now, represents Diamond Glow, and they choose a lot of tactics in the fact that they tell you that they won't support silk pill devices any longer. Please know that if you are looking for a used silk pill system, we are absolutely able to help you out with all the compatible serums, hand pieces, your diamond tips, tubing, everything. So don't let that be a decisive, decision when wanting to purchase a used silk pill system. We can definitely help you out there. The Diamond Glow systems, typically run between 26 and 28,000 new, depending on if you're buying it at a show special or from a rep throughout the year. A lot less expensive than investing in a hydrofacial system. Their training is great. Again, if you're looking for training on one of these systems, we do partner with several clinical trainers that can provide you training on these systems if you should need it. But great devices, versatile, hand pieces, everything on these systems. I find very few problems with these systems. So, they're great devices. Allergan's just a little bit more difficult to work with and get a hold of because they own so many different product lines, all the way from, you know, neurotoxins, dermal fillers. I mean, they've bought up so many companies out there. So Diamond Glow is not their mainstay product, but they do offer it, and it's a great decision if you're looking for a true dermal infusion system with microdermabrasion. Okay.
And and this one is the last one we're gonna, because Diamond Glow and I think Silk Pill kind of go hand in hand. I feel like they're very
They are.
similar in their technology. Hydrofacial. Now, I think most of us do know how the hydrofacial works. And some of the pluses, again, I think the brand recognition speaks for itself. They've done a really good job with their brand recognition and having consumers understand that's the name. That's the name of the brand. And again, the training varies. I do think that they take their time and the representatives are great with their training because they're trying to keep you for life. Their warranty varies depending on if you have licensing for it. and certification is something that I think you have to pay for with these devices. And George, I think you're much more familiar with hydrofacial than I am really when it
Yeah,
comes to their warranties and their cons.
right. I'm happy to take over here. Hydrofacial, I first want to discern and separate two different devices out there. Hydrofacial MD Elite is one of the systems that was available and is still, if you are going to select or request to purchase a hydrofacial system directly from Hydrofacial, please ask them for a Hydrofacial Elite MD. Their Syndeo system is a newer device which came out late 2023, and it has a GFI technology in the actual machine. They can track when you're using the system through your Wi-Fi connection. They also have a little software on that system that detects original product Hydrofacial branded product on that machine, so you cannot alternatively use any other consumable with this device, such as alternative serums. They've had historically some problems with the hydrofacial Syndeo, which many of you speak about often on the forum. Um, and that's relatively associated with their Syndeo model. Um, it works. It's great if you can get a device that, it is not a lemon. They've worked diligently for the past 2.5, 3 years to try and rectify some of these software issues, but I still have a lot of customers calling us saying they're having problems with the software, or maybe the system doesn't detect one of the serums, or maybe the device is pulling up too much serum out of a bottle, which cost you a lot of money. So I would strictly try and stick with the Hydrofacial MD Elite when choosing a Hydrofacial branded device. That's my personal opinion. I don't work for Hydrofacial. I'm just sharing information that I'm privy to, that I've watched other practitioners deal with, and think that, either one's going to work for you, but note there may be some inherent issues that you may have to deal with when choosing the Syndeo system. Also, resale value, if you ever decide you wish to stop using your hydrofacial system, a hydrofacial MD Elite system is going to be much easier to sell should you ever need to sell your device than the Syndeo system. The current used marketplace is filled with hundreds of used Syndeo systems available. You can purchase those for as little as $10,000 to $12,000. I mean, so that speaks highly of the reliability of that particular model of the hydrofacial. Um,
Yeah.
we do have alternative serums, tips, things like that are fully compatible on the Hydrofacial MD Elite system. Welcome to talk to you more about that individually. Please contact us about that. Yeah, I mean, the hydrofacial system comes with LED. It has a uh, actual hydrodermabrasion kit that you can use in conjunction with the device. It's a robust system. Probably, if you're beginning, I would probably tell you that this is probably too much and out of the scope of your practice. I would always suggest building your practice with either one of the Zimits or the Genesis Biosystems devices, and get your clientele built up there. Remember, clients are not shopping for, typically a silk pill treatment. There's a lot of marketing behind hydrofacial, and yes, you cannot, if you're using alternative serums, you cannot market your device as a hydrofacial treatment unless you bought a brand new device from Hydrofacial or have paid for their licensure agreement in order to do so. So please be careful when choosing a Hydrofacial device that you stay compliant because they will watch you. They watch all social media, they watch your website, they verify, are you a original purchaser of that device? So you know, you got to be very careful. I don't want to get anyone into any legal issues. So these are things that Michelle and I are happy to talk to you one-on-one about when making a purchasing decision. Always feel free to contact us. We're available. Okay,
Um,
Michelle?
so going into that one more time, I kind of wanted to briefly give you some additional ideas on when you're trying to select a device. And again, not to rag on one particular device, is just to say like to think consciously before you purchase anything. I think that whether we talked about every single device, and let's be realistic. Now, the I believe in the one-third rule. Not everybody knows what the one-third rule is that if a device cost you $9,000, we're just talking about a device, 6,000, 7,000, 18,000, 20,000, whichever device you decided to go with, right? That I made a decision. This was a device I wanted to go with. There are many reps that will kind of go into like, well, it pays itself off in like 30 treatments, right? Very quickly, you could pay it off in like no time. Now, I don't believe that that's the calculation, and I'm going to go into the calculation for you, but essentially what I tell people to do is sell one-third of your device. So when you are before you even buy any of these devices or you even choose to work with us, the my advice, and I try to give the best of my ability of advices even before you even purchase from us, would be make sure that you're able to actually build demand more than it is about projected return on investment. So right now in your mind, you're like, well, I want to get a device because I have a thought of how much I could make. Well, before you have the device, let's see if we can sell it. And I do tell people, even in the microneedling world, microchanneling world, whatever world that we're working on, the things behind me, I practically say, well, okay, let's go ahead and sell right now. Call up some of your clients and see if you could pre-sell a few treatments. If you cannot, if you're telling me you couldn't in 6 months sell one treatment, then I don't think any of these devices were for you. Any of them. Because they have a cost and it's going to tie up your money no matter which device you went for. Now, am I going to work my butt off to try to help you and think of stackable ways we could use this? What kind of serums would be ideal? Of course, but I would be doing you a disservice when my whole job is for your success. At least that's what I view my work as, your success. So if that I take my job serious, I'm going to tell you before you purchase anything to try to sell some treatments. Go ahead and say, you know what, I'm going to call up a couple of clients. Let's see if I could sell one-third, because a rep will tell you it's as easy as selling 30 treatments. Well, hell, what would be the difficulty of trying to sell 10 right now? Let's see if I could pay like one-third of this device. Let me see if I could. 10 treatments doesn't sound like a lot. Let's sell it. Because if you cannot at the end of the day sell not one treatment, this would be a bad investment. So I would tell you that just to prevent yourself from being sold to from a representative, I mean, that is what they're really good at. I mean, some of them can sell you your own t-shirt, which is amazing ability, but not great for you and your practice. I would say, well, take what they're saying and then actually apply it before you actually put your money down and tie up your money. Because it's as easy as saying, well, let me sell 10 treatments, see if I can do it this month, or see if I could do it in the next 2 months and sell those 10 treatments. So I know the projected return on investment is real. I know that I can afford this device without it eating away at my money. And actually, George and I made a book called The 10 Mistakes That Practices Make. And This is one of them. Purchasing with this projected idea that I can make this money without actually having the demand. And you can create that demand before having the device. So I hope that this is beneficial for that thought process for any device you get, any device, not just this one. Now, what a typical calculation in your mind looks like is device divided by treatments equals payoff, when that's not necessarily the case. And the actual calculation and contribution margins is actually consumable, provider labor, because sometimes you're paying a person to do the treatment, or you're doing the treatment yourself and you have to account for your time. The financing allocation, marketing to consumer, which is the consumer acquisition, which we talked about earlier, which is how to acquire your clients. Sometimes it's as easy as saying, "Hey, come over. I'm going to give you a free facial." That costs money. It's not device treatments and pay it off. That's actually a cost that we need to calculate in the margins. So it's device investment, contribution margins equals approximate treatments to recover the device cost. So I hope this calculation is a little bit different from what people are calculating naturally. There are four different type of return on investments. I think the first three you will understand. The clinical return on investment, does the technology actually produce meaningful results? So this one would be, does it actually do what it says it's going to do? Right? So there's some devices that you bought and it said it was going to do something and it absolutely did not. So now you can't really sell those treatments. At least that I do know that the ones that we talked about today does actually produce a result. Now, there are ones that I think that produce superior results, but of course we can always talk about that and you can always call us at MedPurchasing. But again, that depends on the type of results you're looking for. There is the financial return on investment. Does the treatment price minus the consumable, labor, and overhead make sense for your practice, right? These are the financial return on investments. And we even talked about the one earlier of the 1/3 rule and the actual calculation of paying off a device. There's the operational return on investment. Can I build my treatments around this device? Does it fit within my practice, or am I trying to spend more money on trying to market this as something completely separate, or does it fit within my practice? And then there is the brand return on investment. Does owning this brand actually help my practice? And there's a couple of times that George has heard me uh, complain about certain brands that I feel like hurt practices. Now, this right here, I think, explains well what a brand return on investment looks like. For example, Diamond Glow and Hydrofacial offer more than just the technology, right? It's not just the device. You have brand recognition that I talked about earlier, training and support ecosystem. You have marketing resources, consumer awareness. So consumers are aware of these devices. Then you have, professional positioning. Having these particular devices in your office they're well known. Then you have, uh, but does the brand actually help you when, does the customer actually recognize it in your region? Because some don't care. They don't even know what it looks like. They're like, this doesn't even matter to me. So for you to invest in it in a location that for you to invest it in a location that it doesn't matter. Did it really help? Are you charging enough to actually make a profit? Because some of these devices cost a lot of money, so your profit is lower in those regions. And am I making that money? Can I actually charge it in this region? Because some states you can't really charge that much for a facial like that. Does this brand help me stand out? So does that brand return on investment really help you stand out? Is this something that's going to help me with my long-term goals? So again, sometimes the better known device isn't always the one that makes sense for your practice, but vice versa. It could be the one that's ideal for your practice because it's bringing in more clients. So it's something to definitely think about. Now, again, we talked about what makes sense. There could be two devices, and everybody's charging $250 for this treatment. The $7,000 device, if it cost $40 a treatment, right? Or device B, that's a $15,000 device, but the treatment cost is lower, suddenly the cheaper one isn't automatically better because now the treatment cost is much higher. So these are just things, again, another thing to consider: downtimes, repair for the devices, brand recognition, whether or not you can replace certain things with the device. Like, can you replace the tips? Is even found online that you can quickly find it or no? You know, it's just one of those things that I want you to be able to, or is it has a multi-modalities? Can that be stacked in multiple different ways? So I just want you to think about it broader than, well, this one's cheaper and that made sense for right now. Because sometimes in this case, the more expensive device, smaller cost and multi-modalities, it would be fitting your practice. So this is a common thing that I talk to with George actually all the time, which is the race to the bottom. I don't know. Does anybody, if you can comment, do you guys know what the race to the bottom is? No.
No.
Okay. Race to the bottom, I think, is something that the industry is doing, and it's actually hurting everyone. It is offering the same treatment in the same area and all racing to get the cheapest, to be the cheapest one. Because before, back in the day, it used to be something that we would, well, the RN or the NP or the MD are higher and higher positions, more training, more education, all the certifications on your wall was the reason to justify for your higher price. But now those things don't even matter anymore. It's the race to the cheapest price, or you'll try to get the bare bone device from online because it is the cheapest one available, and it's just to be able to provide the cheapest treatment, which is hurting the industry overall because your next door neighbor is going to offer it for $75 and then you're over here racing it to make it for $75 and so on and so forth, and all of you guys are just hurting each other. We're hurting our neighbors every time we lower our price and you got to lower your price, and now we're doing facials for $10 on Groupon. Like, this is
Yeah,
hurting
I
the
think
entire industry.
Groupon's a great analogy, Michelle. You're not building a return client. You're just gathering customer acquisitions through cheap prices, and those customers are not going to come back to you. So you want to sell your services, your education, and your ability to provide repeatable results to your clients when choosing,
Yeah.
to add one of these services to your practice.
And you want to really base your price and stop looking at your neighbors, because your neighbors are going to constantly try to lower it against you, and there's always going to be a $10 facial somewhere, which is in my opinion crazy. But if you're going to do the cheapest device, doesn't automatically equal bad, but also just don't. I think the industry should stop in as a whole trying to race to the bottom. We're not trying to cheat ourselves. And every time you try to lower your price next to the person next to you and the next to the other person, and again, we're all just trying to lower our price to absolutely nothing. So I do want us to stop racing to the bottom. And I wanted to put this in here because it doesn't matter what device, what serum, what thing that we're trying to purchase. If we're constantly racing to the bottom, we're all going to lose. So I just thought it would be a nice eye opener for this kind of conversation of things that I think George and I take pride in: your education, your training, and what we do, you know, every day to try to make sure you get top dollar for what I'm able to give you on, and all the education I'm trying to provide you and the better type of treatment you're trying to do. And then you're trying to tell me that you want to do your facial for $99 because the next door neighbor is doing that and they're not even licensed. So you're racing against who?
Right.
So I thought that was important. And now we go back to the game. What did you find? And especially when we talked about, can we sell it? I think George brought up a good point. When you sell these devices, what do they go for, and online. So whether you're looking at Zimmets, Genesis Biosystems, you're looking at Hydrofacial, you're looking at Diamond Glow, look online to see what people are selling it used to kind of get an idea of what you're capable of selling it for. Because you're going to be buying a car essentially, and you're trying to see what you could resell it for if something terribly goes wrong.
Well,
Um,
we're reaching the end of our time here,
mhm.
and I want to remind everyone to please look in the chat, copy and paste our link to our website. You can actually have access to this complete slide presentation that Michelle has shared with us here today. It's just going to ask you to fill out your name and phone number and email address, and it will automatically open up the slide presentation, and you can download that and keep that when using this presentation. This isn't only Hydroderm systems, but any device. You can use this information to make better informed decisions on your purchasing. Michelle, if you'll share that very last slide, we are here available to help you as well. And if Maria, if you've got maybe a couple minutes, I know we have a couple of people here in the forum. Any questions that we can quickly answer for you? Otherwise, please reach out to us. The phone number is right there on this last slide. Michelle and I are always available to answer your questions. So
You guys
I'm
are
going to
also
open.
welcome to turn on your mic. So Jessica, Selena, if you guys have any questions, Crystal, you guys are welcome to ask. Let me see if there's anything. We're also live streaming inside the community.
Do you guys feel as though this kind of covered some stuff and raised some answers for you? Did you feel like this was a little bit fulfilling and for your mind?
Yes.
Great.
This was so good.
Thank you.
Selena, do you have anything?
I don't have any questions right now. No. That's
So much
good.
to process, huh?
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
a lot of information, and I mean, we tried to make this, succinct with a slide presentation to help you get through this because, I mean, we try and simplify things here, but remember, we're consultants. We, even other devices, there are many other devices out there available to you. We're welcome to talk to you about what we know about the different devices out there as well. We just took the 5 most popular devices that we often hear about in the forums to try and break it down so you can better understand. But we've got a lot of information we could share. I could talk on these different devices for 4 hours straight, but just summarizing everything here for you.
Okay. Great.
So just know that you guys are free. And I mean, anybody who didn't attend and is live or sees us later, I really hope that you give us a chance to give us a call. We love to help and give you new ways and perspectives of thinking. Because again, my job isn't to tell you like this is the device to buy, but to give you the way to critically think about when you purchase. So I hope I got to give you that today.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your time. This was so helpful. I think that it's just a lot to process, but very exciting,
Yeah.
especially because we're going into busy season, and
Right.
especially like December, November, December, January, especially in the new year, it's like everybody's excited.
Yes.
Well,
Mhm.
Maria, we truly appreciate the opportunity to be invited live to your community, and we are enjoying the community and all of our practitioners that have joined us here today, and the practitioners that I often hear commenting on the forum. So, we're proud to be a part of the money making esthetician and hope to be here a long time and impact our community in the aesthetics market greatly.
Thank you for your time. And this, you guys will get the replay. I'm gonna post this up tomorrow, and we're gonna send it out via newsletter as well.
Great.
Thank you,
Thank,
everybody.
Thank you.
thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.